This is Elias Dufexes. You're watching That Tom Clancy Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another brand new episode of That Tom Clancy Show. I am, of course, your lovable robot host, Mr. That Tom Clancy. I don't know why I get a Mr. there. It's just kind of started and it's stuck. Well, we've made it through another crazy week because I refuse to say these troubling times or unprecedented times ever again because I hate it. But you know what I don't hate? I don't hate indie games. And in fact, I actually kind of like them. And today, I just happen to have a guest on the show who makes an indie game. I know, I never do that. I never have indie developers on the show. But today I do. With me today is one of the developers in a game called This Means Warp, one of last month's entrants into hashtag Pitch Your Game. So Bits and Pixels, please join me in welcoming Paul.
Thanks very much for having me.
Of course, Paul. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, happy to.
Ooh, sorry there. I guess I just got a bit stuck in my throat. But, well, normally, this is where I ask some very poignant question. So I'm going to continue with that normal tradition. I'm going to ask you, Paul, what are you playing right now?
Oh, that is a good question. Actually, on my to-do list is Baldur's Gate, the new one. I've got a few friends at Larian, and they've just released it. Each time I've gone to play it, it has a big update, so they're making a lot of changes in early access. But that's my next on my list.
Well, I mean, that is kind of the point of early access.
Yeah.
Get those changes in there. Yeah, I have a bunch of friends who are playing it. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I do kind of want to just play around with the character editor because, as I understand it, it's quite in depth. Although there was a funny article online that the studio behind the game was calling people out for being really basic because everybody's basically just making white dudes.
Yeah, I saw that. They gave people like green skin, horns, everything, and then people just make, your middle-aged, average white guy.
I mean, I'm the not quite middle-aged, but I'm an average white guy. So why do I want to be that in a video game where I can be like a tiefling or an Azumar, or I don't even know what options they have available. Are like the Tabaxi in there? Do they have cat folk?
I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to playing it myself.
Yeah, because I mean, if people are just gonna make like your generic white bread guy, I mean, they may as well also just play a fighter, you know?
Yeah, you might as well just have preset characters, I guess, if people aren't going to experiment with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, either way, we're not here to debate the validity of people's character design choices today, maybe later. But we are here to talk about This Means Warp. Now, for everyone out there who might not know about the game, and you probably should, Paul, would you be so kind as to tell us about the game?
Sure. This Means Warp is a 1 to 4 player spaceship management roguelike game. So if you've ever played something like FTL, then it's got structurally very similar. So it's a roguelike, it's procedurally generated every time you play, with the key differences being it's real time and it's multiplayer. So you form a crew either with your friends or with strangers online and battle it out across the procedurally generated galaxy and get as far as you can while maintaining your ship and battling enemies.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely kind of the feel I got from it in watching that 30-second teaser that you put on the Twitter account. And it looks a little, in a way, more complex than FTL by virtue of the fact that you can apparently shoot people out into space if you destroy certain portions of the hull, which would have been very nice in FTL because some of those battles are quite hard.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be honest, they're both hard games. Making it real time, I guess, brings a lot of these differences to the fore. So you yourself can go out into space, swim around your ship if there's things that need fixing or you need to collect things from space. And like you say, you can blast enemies, destroy their walls or different parts of the ship, and blow them out into space as well.
Nice. I will say though that I find that while it appears to be an entirely real-time game, you kind of have it balanced out that if you have multiple people on your crew, like as you said, you have 1 to 4 player multiplayer, you kind of have this, what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of balances out with or I presume it would kind of balance out the not having the ability to stop time, because you can, could theoretically have people dedicated to individual systems, like have one person manning repairs, or one person working only on weapons, one person constantly on the pilot controls, so in case you need to jump out, like, oh man, we thought this was going to be an easy fight, but it's not, get us the hell out of here. So like dedicated roles, that's what I'm talking about. Word's good, I promise.
Yeah. So if you form a crew and you prefer doing certain things on the ship, then you can definitely try and like have one person on the guns, one person reloading, one person repairing. What tends to happen is the chaos quickly builds up, and best laid plans start to fall apart as there's so much stuff that's going on the ship. So you really have to kind of stay on your toes. But we do find people, if you form a good team and you've got a good pattern running, then you can get pretty far.
Wait, did you just say reload guns?
I did.
We're in space and we're still reloading guns?
It's retro sci-fi. We'll put it that way.
Even in Star Trek, they figured out how to have guns you didn't have to reload. Okay. You win this battle, Paul. But no, it's definitely a very interesting looking game. As I've said in previous episodes this month, one of the nice things about running your own show is you get to just ask the guests on the show that you want to talk to. And, it was like you had my attention at, the title, because this means warp is clever and fun. And then when I actually sat down and watched the snippet you put online for everybody, I was like, this is multiplayer FTL. I like FTL. I like multiplayer games. Let's get this guy on the show. And here we are a few weeks later. I don't know where that story went. I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, I was going to say we're both big FTL lovers as well. So it's important. I think the game kind of gets its own stride as well, so it doesn't just copy FTL exactly. But we're big fans in trying to, I think, have a game that allows you that kind of experience. But playing with your friends is something that we were definitely interested in playing ourselves and couldn't really find. So decided to make something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's at least from the video that you showed, you have definitely found a way to distinguish yourselves from FTL. I mean, it's real time. The art style is completely different. It's 3D. It looks like it's not going to be punishingly difficult. Because I don't know about you, but I only ever made it to the final boss in FTL once. And I didn't beat it.
Yeah, to be honest, I think a lot of people are the same, and it's also the same with a lot of roguelikes. Though it's a difficult genre, but FTL, it's often the case that if luck is in your favor, you can get further. But if not, then it's a tough game.
Yeah, I don't. Games like that have convinced me that luck does not exist, because the law of the law of large numbers, or whatever it is, it dictates that at least one run will come up in my favor, and that never happened.
Then you might start looking inwards on that one. Then
yeah. I would like to blame some of the ships being very hard to get. And if I had easier access to some of the alternate ships, that maybe I would have been able to do it. But that one's on you, FTL developers. got my eye on you. But yeah, it's, the game looks really fun, and I do believe that you had mentioned something as we were talking about being able to play it today for the show.
Yeah, definitely. So the game is still very much in development. It's still an early build. We actually just did our first alpha with our Discord community a couple of weeks back, and we're aiming for release in about a year's time. So we're trying to get as much feedback as we can as early as possible. But yeah, it's playable. It might be a little buggy, but you're welcome to give it a go.
All right. Well, unless you have an objection, what do you say we hop into the game?
All right, let's do it.
All right, cool. To the game. Nice. But fear not, our highly experienced crew will take care of everything. How did I know something was going to happen to them? Oh, man. I don't know what this is, but I think I picked up, like, this thing.
Yep.
So... I kind of wish that was just like a really crummy barricade instead of an actual wall. Warp speed, Mr. Sulu. Uh-oh.
All right.
This guy looks mean. I think I will shoot at him.
Give it a go. I'll load you up some ammo. Here you go. And it's hold down to fire.
Yes, take that, sir. Or shoot your gun. Yes, now your gun is hurting. What about those engines? You don't need those. Dude,
So the game really is we're going to be disabling his systems, and he's going to try and do the same to us. And the enemies just get progressively more complex, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Man, the timing on the charge is throwing me off. Oh no, catastrophic failure.
I'll give you some ammo.
Oh,
There you go.
I love that thing. Let's start hurting some of your walls there. Yeah, whoa, that's not fair. You have one of those. Oh, and I have to repair? What? How
There you go.
dare you hurt
There you go.
my guns?
So anything we can do to them, they can also do to us. So we've got to keep the guns going, repairing, balancing everything on the ship.
Yes, enjoy the cold vacuum of space. Let's see. You know what? Let's just... Because I don't think they're coming back to their ship anytime soon. Oh, wait. Did they spawn another crew member?
Yeah, they fly back to the med beds that they've got on their ship. They're not gone forever.
Well, enjoy this other wall, shortly about to be gone. Wrong button. Right button. You have more work to do. You know what? You guys, can I target individual space? That would be just too mean. But at the same time, I wish I could. Okay. You hurt my gun. I don't like these guys anymore. Space is a cold mistress, you jerks.
Oh, we're gonna die.
Possibly. Yep, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
It's okay. It's okay.
So there we go. Yeah, so that was just a kind of quick snippet of the early game. And at the end of the game, you can unlock new characters, new abilities, new weapons, all that kind of stuff.
Pants, I need him. Oh man, that was really fun. Oh man, that was something else. First off, Paul, thank you for letting me play the game. That was
welcome.
awesome. Secondly, it was a lot harder than I thought. Our ammo bot was a lazy bum. And like, okay, yeah, having crew members does not inherently make that game easier.
No, there's a lot to do, and you can get a few kind of helper bots around the ship, but as you well know, you might not always rely on robots. So a lot of human players will come in handy as well.
Yeah, but whether intentional or not, there is that whole player collision thing,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter how well a team communicates, somebody's gonna get in the way. And it was kind of fun because I noticed that I was running into primarily the helper bot, and it's kind of a pushover. And it was trying to come up to my position to reload the weapon I was manning, but it was, of course, going slower than I wanted it to. And I just ended up pushing it backwards.
Well, the poor little guy's just trying to do his job. You're bullying him.
I'm not bullying him. He's just not doing his job well enough. There's an old pirate saying, beatings will continue until morale is improved. So, yeah, that's what I have to say to that helper bot. It's not sentient. It has no rights. That was mean. I'm sorry, fellow bots out there. Not really. Especially not ones in a video game. But
the digital world is a hard world, it seems.
It is. I mean, I'm going to say that at least a portion of the responsibility for our ship blowing up falls on the shoulders of the helper bot.
Okay, well, I take no responsibility, so as long as you're blaming him, then yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, well, very clearly it wasn't our fault. We knew what we were doing. Although it could have been the fault of the high velocity rounds that those pirates or whatever they were shooting at us. They certainly didn't help the situation at all.
That's true.
And I will say, and this is something that I've really only started using this past week, is I super appreciate the remote play support that you have implemented for the game. Because one, it was nice being able to, just like right click your name in Steam, and even though you are literally separated by a large portion of a continent and a rather large body of water, we were able to play together with, at least from my perspective, minimal lag.
Yeah, it works really well, to be honest. So we use it a lot for testing as we're playing the game. So my partner Matt, who I'm developing it with, is based in Toronto in Canada. So we have the same challenge, but it's pretty seamless. For the game itself, we'll have full online multiplayer by launch, but in the meantime, then it's incredibly useful.
Are you going to keep the remote play though? That's just random question.
Yeah. So Steam, I think, enables remote play for all local co-op games as well. So we'll have both local and online multiplayer, but the local co-op should be Steam remote play together as well.
Awesome. Because that's something that, as I literally just said a minute ago, something that I've been very pleased with figuring out over this past week, because, it kind of brings back that sense of being able to play with your friends all on the same TV, but built around this hellscape that is 2020. So it is really nice to be able to still then, hop on Discord and get some buddies together and play some games. Um, Although primarily I've been using remote play for like asymmetric games, but that's neither here nor there. Maybe we'll talk about some of that next month on the show. Um, but yeah, it's you know there's a there's like certain chaos that this means warp has that you don't find in FTL. Uh, I think you mentioned while we were playing the game that there's like a touch of Overcooked in there too. Um, and yeah, I
Yeah,
can definitely see that.
yeah. I think for the kind of minute to minute gameplay, then we were looking at some of the other games where you kind of make these plans of the optimal way that you're going to operate your team, and then as soon as something starts to go wrong, then your plans fall apart, and you really have to think on your feet and adapt. So there's a lot of party games. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time is another good example, actually, of like a ship management co-op game, and that brings that kind of that team element, I guess, to the game. You really have to think as a team and communicate to get where you're going.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I just had to look at the ceiling and double check something because I was afraid for a moment that I was not recording something I was supposed to be. But thankfully I was. Um, because that would have been like super embarrassing to be like, hey, we just had all this great conversation. Do you want to do it again? I'm not going to say that's happened before, but there's a distinct possibility it has happened before.
Yeah, and you want me to pretend that this is the first time we're having this conversation right now?
Yes, exactly. But thankfully, it kind of is the first time we've had this
Yeah,
conversation.
okay.
Oh man, but no, I mean the game like you have already kind of passed that first like big hurdle, which is finding the fun, and you did. Uh, and I think too, and maybe it's just because I haven't played as much of it as like FTL or other games, but you also found a way to maintain the challenge without making me want to murder you. Which in a game like this, that's saying something.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's a difficult balance to get as a developer. One element, I guess, that's often can alleviate that a little bit is unlocking something or having a different way to play each time you play. So we really want players to have a different experience, unlock new guns or new characters, new abilities, or something like that. So each time you play, you can try a new strategy, and that kind of alleviates some of that frustration that you get from roguelikes if you're not able to progress past a certain point. And then
yeah.
the other advantage, of course, is you could just get some new teammates, and then maybe some people will be better than others.
Well, one question I have, because while we were playing, we did manage to level up. Now, do those level up bonuses carry over into subsequent playthroughs, or are they or are they just tied to that one run through the game?
So the player stats that you increased when you leveled up and the new things that you purchased on the ship are all just within that run. So when
Okay.
you finish the run, you lose the ship, you also lose your character progression. But that being said, we'll have new unlocks as you progress through multiple runs where you could potentially make a character better over the long term as well.
And new characters I saw with a
And new characters,
certain,
yeah,
yeah, with a lizard man named Pants.
that's true.
Um, I like him. I want to unlock him. Uh, uh, there's a silly college story that I don't feel like telling in there, but trust me, I have an
Okay.
attachment to the name Pants. So,
Maybe I don't want to know.
uh, it's not a bad story. I promise. I just don't feel like going into it right now.
Okay.
Uh, there is a TLDR version which basically involves fancy pants. Um, but yeah. So you mentioned it's just two of you working on this?
Yeah, so the core team is myself, I'm the programmer, and my partner Matt, who is doing all the 3D art and animation. So we've been working for a couple of years on the game, and we've got one more year to go. And we'll also have a few smaller roles on the project in temporary capacity on like a little bit more of the 2D art and the audio, things like that.
Now, I just asked because I know that you had a very HAL-looking artificial intelligence on the ship, but if you need an artificially intelligent bot of some sort for voiceover, I might know a guy.
All right. He's going to have to be nicer to the ammo bot, though. I think if they're going to form part of the spaceship crew.
Look, maybe there was something in the ship or something in the game that we missed in our short time, but I didn't see the two of them directly interacting, so I don't anticipate that being a problem.
Okay, no workplace battles.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, look, who's gonna win? The ammo bot who doesn't even talk and doesn't appear to have even a basic emoting screen, or the artificial intelligence that controls the ship?
Fair enough.
I could just reprogram him to be better.
That's true.
You know? Yeah, but no, dude, that it looked frantic and fun in the video, and it was frantic and fun in reality, and so it's like, you know, how many times we look at a trailer and we feel like, oh man, there's no way it's going to actually like play like that, and it does. That said, I do want that transporter so I can go over to the other people's ship and like screw with it, but we didn't get that far in our run.
That's like the number one request from our alpha is ship boarding.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Like, I think you know, just like going off on that tangent and like very clearly like a stupid suggestion that you know you absolutely should not implement would be, you know, not just like boarding, but like going over there and like kidnapping people.
Okay.
Like, you know, like imagine like if it was like Fall Guys ish, and you actually had a grab button and you just like went over and you just grabbed them and then transported back, and then they had to like go out your airlock and then like swim back to their ship. Yeah,
All right, I see where you're going with it.
you know, like you don't actually like you know, like vent them into space unless you do. But you know, you just like take them out of the, and you know, then they'd be able to do it back to you too. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'd like we'll have a chat about it in later design discussions, and then if we do implement it, we'll take full credit and you know, say it was our idea all along.
Look,
That's generally what we do with our Discord community.
here is my basic rule for the show is you get the first idea for free. Everything else has a consultant's fee. But, you know, that was the first one. So that's your free one. I'm going to be a little bit more tight-lipped with any future ones. You know, make sure the consultant's fee is in there.
Okay.
Well, one of the questions that I saw get asked on Twitter about the game, and it's also kind of a question too that expands out from its initial scope, is kind of a two-parter, and it's how are you balancing the game for people who want to play it single player, and then to build off of that, how has it been kind of balancing this game with multiplayer in mind as well?
Yeah, so it's a tricky balance on both parts. On the single player front, then we've been testing this a little bit with our playtesters for the alpha, and so you can spawn AI companions within your ship, and the idea being, as you progress through a run, you can recruit different crew members with different skills, or like some guy might be faster at moving but slower at repairing, or more powerful on the guns, whatever it might be. So you can kind of pick and choose your crew as you progress. So you might start out alone, but you won't be by the end of a run. And then you also have indirect control over your crewmates. So you can like point at things to tell them to jump on the ammo, or you know, fire the guns or whatever it might be while you're controlling your character.
Nice.
And then the second part is on balancing for multiplayer, which is another really tricky thing to do, because everything has to scale, right? So it could be one player playing, it could be 4 player playing, it could be 1 player and 3 bots, like we don't know. So the game dynamically changes based on how many either players or bots there are on the player's ship, and then the difficulty will adjust based on that. So the kind of health and complexity of enemy ships will be based on how far you are through a run and how many people are playing at that time. So it kind of adjusts as you go.
Nice. Well, damn, man. That was a fun game. I'm officially out of questions. So, one, thank you for being here. But two, before you go, there's one last thing I've got to do, and it's this bit that I like to call the 5 questions. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Paul, and any first timers out there in the audience are unfamiliar, the 5 questions is a series of, 5 questions that I prepared before the show that has nothing whatsoever to do with anything we've talked about leading up to this point. So, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, I think I've got to go with the T-Rex. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's the little arms like this.
But
Who
you
would say
know
no to
what?
that?
Strangely enough, they still served a purpose. We don't know
Oh, yeah?
precisely what it was, but I'm a dinosaur nerd. But while they were small, like the musculature and everything hadn't atrophied on them, like they weren't vestigial, so they clearly served some form of purpose, as opposed to something like a Carnotaurus, whose limbs were basically vestigial. And while it still had forearms, it's kind of like how whales still have leg bones.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's an interesting fact about my favorite dinosaur that I didn't know.
yeah, actually, my favorite paleontologist is over in the UK right now. He's from the Midwest here in the US, but he's a professor of paleontology at the University of Edinburgh. And he wrote this excellent article in Scientific American several years ago. How long ago was that precisely? About 5.5 years ago now. I still actually have the Scientific American because I'm a nerd. That went over the long history of the Tyrannosaurid family. And it was actually a really interesting article.
All right.
So,
I'll take your word for it.
yeah, his name's Steve Brusati. He's really cool. I gotta ask if he wants to be on the show because I want to talk dinosaurs with the guy for an hour. Question number 2. Getting back on track here. What is the place that you would most want to visit?
Um, I don't know. I'm a bit of a city break kind of guy. So I've never been to Barcelona, and I
Okay.
hear it's great for like a long weekend or something. So I'm going to put that on the top of my list, I think.
Nice. It's funny you mentioned Barcelona as well. 1, I've never actually been there, but 2, there's a tattoo artist there that I really want to get tattooed by. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you got any tattoos already?
Yes.
They don't
I
show up on your monitor.
No, they don't. One of the plans is commissioning somebody who can actually do 3D modeling better than myself, and my tattoos are something that I would like to work into the design. But yes, let's see. So that's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 in a sleeve.
Okay. Well, sleeve is impressive considering you have no arms.
I know, right? It's pretty amazing. I mean, I can see it, but I guess it's just not, transferring over. All right. So, question number 3: what's the last book that you read?
Um, I don't know if I can remember or pronounce the author's name, but it was *Sapiens*
Oh,
by.
you've all know Noah Harari?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, nice. I'm
I
sitting.
love that book. That was really, really good book.
Homo Deus is sitting on my nightstand actually for me to read, but my stack of books to read just keeps getting bigger because new books keep coming out that are excellent.
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend that for anybody that hasn't read it. And yeah, I'm going to start on Homo Deus sometime soon.
Nice, man. I can't tell you how many times I've asked guests that question, and they're like, I don't remember, and they mention a book that they read a decade ago, and I'm thinking to myself how do you not read multiple books a year?
I'm a holiday reader myself, so at home it's just you've got video games and Netflix, and it's all a bit too tempting. But on holiday, then I'll go through a good few books in a week.
Yeah, I read throughout the course of the year. That I can remember off the top of my head. So that's 3, 6. I've read at least 10 or 12 books this year.
Well,
But I usually read between 20 and 30, so yeah, and that's just like going like because I know the number is actually bigger than that, but like I don't like explicitly recall every book I've read this year. Actually make that closer to 15. But I like reading. So, um question number 4. What is your favorite foreign language?
I'm pretty terrible at foreign languages, I've got to say. So I did a bit of German at school, so I quite liked German. Although now I'm based in Ireland, I can't speak Gaelic, but it's meant to be a lovely language for the 50 or so people that can actually speak it.
It sounds like less drunk Welsh.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good description.
I'm allowed to say this because I had to learn Welsh pronunciations for a play I was in college, and Welsh makes no sense.
It's just a lot of vowels.
It's a lot of vowels. It's a lot of sounds that shouldn't be made by the letters that they're written out by. Like, because let's be honest here, right? Uh, we use the Latin alphabet. Welsh was not meant to be written in the Latin alphabet because, like, double D is like a TH sound. Uh, AU is an I. Like, why don't you just write it out how you expect it to be pronounced?
I had quite a lot of difficulty coming over with some Irish names, so it's very difficult to kind of guess the spelling from the pronunciation or vice versa. So Aoife and Quiver and Siobhan, like these are very weird names to spell looking at the Latin alphabet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I spent like a week in Ireland a few years ago, and yes, it's difficult. That said, though, I found the food was delightful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Dublin is a lovely city,
Dude, they
so
have some great street food too.
yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't end up in this 5 questions, but I would say famous for this. But I frequently ask people what their favorite street food is, and it's always fun when people asking people that question when they're in cities that I've been to as well, because then I'm all like, oh hey, you've been to this place, what's your favorite street food there, and then like kind of compare notes.
Mm.
So that said, when I was in Dublin, it was unfortunately only for like a day and a half. My wife and I found this excellent like takeaway Indian place, and I don't remember where it was. I don't remember what it's called, but it was excellent. So, but that's neither here
Cool.
nor there. Uh,
Yeah. Next time you need any recommendations, then just give me a shout.
yeah, I also found a halfway decent shawarma place too, but like
Cool.
everywhere pales in comparison to shawarma grill house in Copenhagen. So sorry, every other shawarma place, but it's just the truth. Um, question number 5: Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
Um, who's the favorite Star Wars character? I've got to say Chewie.
That is an excellent answer. I'm more of a Wedge Antilles guy, but like Chewie's up there.
Yeah, it's got to be one from the originals anyway.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
not sure the new ones hold the candle.
I mean, see, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker, which I thought was kind of garbage, um, I really enjoy the new Star Wars movies. I mean, Solo was actually strangely better than a lot of people give it credit for. Rogue One put the war in Star Wars, and I
That's
really
true.
liked Force Awakens and The Last Jedi because I like Last Jedi more so than Force Awakens for reasons. Um, but at the
Yeah,
same
I think that
time,
like a lot of controversy, right? The Last Jedi, but I would say that's my favorite of the new ones as well. It kind
right,
of subverted the expectations a bit rather than being formulaic.
Paul? I think we just became internet friends. I think one of the main things for it too, for me personally, is I know that a lot of fans were disappointed that Luke did not turn out like Luke in the books, right? And like I get that, um, but Luke in the books was boring because he never had a crisis of faith. He never had he never had doubt, because that Luke was tied to this old idea that once a hero kind of finds their courage and finds their you know, their mojo, so to speak, they never question it. It's just always there. But the truth of the matter is that it's a constant struggle, and human beings, no matter how good they get at fighting a certain fight, will eventually lose it every once in a while. And the idea that Luke, lost it at like that one really, really big moment. And then he got so scared of how it all turned out that he ran away. Like, that made him more human and more real than he ever had been in the rest of the series. And to know that all of that happened because of one terrible moment in Luke's life, it just, it was this weird, beautiful, sad moment, And then when he comes back in like the most Jedi way possible, like, God, it was so perfect.
You're a Star Wars fan then?
I'm more of a Trek fan, strangely enough, but I am also a big Star Wars fan. Like, really, I'm just a big sci-fi fan. So
yeah, on the Picard series is actually on my to-do list. I haven't got around to it yet, but
I've only watched. Yeah, I've only watched the premiere of that. I really want to check out Lower Decks because that looks hilarious. And also, like, not only does it just look hilarious, but it's just like, that's just right in my wheelhouse. Like, as I'm sure you also have, I have like a notebook full of like all these game ideas that are never going to happen. And one of them is, like, if Spelunky were Lower Decks.
Okay, yeah. That's put it up. Like, I think everybody's got that kind of behind the scenes look at sci-fi that they want to play out.
Yeah. Well, it's like, because when you think about it, it's like when you're that Lower Decks character, right? Especially in the shows, you really live or die on the whims of your commanding officers and the screenwriters. And it's just like, I just thought it would be really fun to have this show where like you are like a Star Trek like intern who is just trying to get off of the space station you're on, who's constantly being bombarded by these random events that only happen in sci-fi television. And like one of the ones, like the hard ones being like if the captain shows up, like making like a big to do on the captain, and like basically whatever else is happening at that level, you also have to do that while running away from the captain because it's basically a death sentence. He's all like, intern, you need to go on this away mission. And it's like, you just need to get away.
Well, that might be game number 2 after This Means Warp. I've stolen the second idea from you with that consultancy fee.
No, consultancy fee is going to happen. No, we'll talk about this. I have excellent lawyers. Well, Paul, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you today. And for one, thank you so much for letting me play the game because that's awesome. And two, as I said earlier, I had a lot of fun with it. So I have been showing the Outlier Social Twitter on the little box in front of you through the course of the interview. Is there anywhere else aside from on Steam where you can wishlist the game, and you should, that people should go to learn more about you and the game?
Well, they can check out thismeanswarp.com. That has the links to all the socials, the Steam, and also our Discord, which is the best place to come and chat with us. If you have any ideas for the game, then we're very open to integrating that. As I said, stealing ideas from our community, and we'll also post on there when we have like later alpha and beta playtests, so you can get a go at the game early as well.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put all of those links down in the description box down below. And hey, while you're on your way down there to check those out, why don't you hit that subscribe button, maybe give us a quick thumbs up, and hit that bell so you don't miss any future episodes of That Tom Clancy Show. Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. I'll be back with you in just a sec, but I need to switch over to this camera real quick and say, hey, everybody, thank you for watching. If you've liked what you've seen here today, I've got a playlist all up here, which is going to have all the previous episodes of That Tom Clancy Show going all the way back to when we recorded in the garage over there. But I just want to say thank you all for joining us. Remember to drink some water, wear that mask, have some vitamins, and be kind to each other, because it's not a race. We're all in this together. Thank you all for joining us, and I'll see you on the next episode of That Tom Clancy Show. Later.